Winners use drugs.
All right, so post-pandemic, anything changing for you?
Yeah, I mean, it is slightly more uncomfortable, I think. Like, I was at a house party a few weekends ago, and my girlfriend, she was friends with a few of these people, right?
Okay.
So we went to a bar that had a large patio, which I was okay with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they did a lot of work to make sure there was enough space between everyone and stuff like that. So we go to this, I go to this bar with her and a few of her friends. They seem like pretty cool people, but then they wanted to go back to someone else's house, like some friends that they had, right? So we went there, and it was, at that point there's like 10 plus people in this apartment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it felt a little uncomfortable, but not too bad.
Are you telling me you're giving me COVID right now?
No. This was a few weeks ago, so I would have already been showing symptoms if I had gotten it.
Well, what if your antibodies keep you from showing symptoms because you already had it, right?
I think if you have antibodies, you're not contagious either, right?
No, you can still spread, right? Or no?
That's not what I'm to understand.
We don't get this. This just shows, like, even in a country where we're getting information without disinformation, we still don't fucking know.
Yeah.
This goes back to your risk assessment thing. Anyway, sorry.
True,
So you went to this party?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess apart from COVID, the thing that I want to like bring up is like so we're at this house party, right? And it's around 10 or 11 o'clock, right? And then now they're like feeling like there's too many people. They want to take the party to yet another person's house, right? So I use this transition to say, okay, I'm just going to go home, right? Because at this point, the house that we're at is within walking distance of my place. They're all grabbing a cab to go to this other place, right? I'm like, well, I don't really know if I want to come. The cab implies I'm going to have to take a cab home. I'm just going to leave, right? So for some reason, these people, when they find out I'm not coming, they're like, oh, do you work tomorrow? Right? And in my mind, I'm like, do you guys think that my entire life is just drinking at parties and working? Right? Like, could it possibly be that I have other things to do on a Saturday that are not those two possibilities?
Yeah, but that's how the Bert Kreischers of the world do live.
Right.
You wake up to drink the next day.
Right. And that's another thing that bothers me. It's like Friday is an imperfect socializing night, right? Like, it seems to be the night that everyone wants to hang out, but in my mind,
Not
it's
me.
like,
Saturday's always been the day to me.
Saturday is such a much better day, right? Because like for me, it's like I am the most tired throughout the week. I've worked all week. I've had to get up early for 5 days. Friday, I'm the most dragged out. And the other thing is, like, Saturday day is like the most productive day to get shit done, right?
Especially for someone that, has a 9 to 5.
Yeah. Like if I go drinking on a Friday night and I'm hungover on Saturday, I can't go and do just random life shit, right? And then that I'll have to leave that for Sunday. Sunday is an awful day. Not all the stores are closed or open. Some of them close early. You have this feeling like you have to work the next day over your head, right? So it's like, to me, it's like, have a quiet night Friday, get a good sleep, get stuff done Saturday, or go to the mountains or something, have a good day. And then you're more relaxed and ready to socialize Saturday night, right? And then if you get a little hungover, Sunday is a write-off, but Sundays are write-offs anyways, right?
Generally speaking. Yeah, because as you said, like, I was always tortured by the I'm going back to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I think that's also how I developed my, like, I just chill on Fridays, is because when I framed, people would want to go drinking at bars or whatever. It's like, not only am I not drinking tonight, I'm not leaving my fucking house. My pants are off for the next foreseeable future. You know?
I know.
Like, no chance. Like, way too tired.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mean drink, but I know I had that explained to me, the whole, like, continuing the party thing. I think it was Bert Kreischer just saying, Like when other people are doing it with you, then yeah, it's not just you and your alcoholic friend. It's a group of people,
Yeah.
right? Like you're not sad anymore. It's a party.
acceptable. Yeah.
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 That's very strange. If even friends right now, if someone tried to hug me, I'd probably put my hand out on their chest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that would be my instinctive. I'd be like, nope.
It seems like if there's ever a time where that's socially acceptable, it's now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and so that goes the same. So I can't wait for my first time when someone goes to shake my hand and I don't shake their hand and they're like, what are you, some kind of liberal pussy?
Yeah.
I can't wait for that interaction. Like that's gonna be my favorite. And I'm gonna be like, no, I like the thing that never connected to me prior to the pandemic is when you go out to a bar, how many guys wash their hands? Like genuinely.
I've never thought about that.
I literally like any study that's ever done, it's like almost 50% of men don't do it after just going pee.
Yeah.
Huge percentage don't do it at all. You know, like, and so like that was always gross and in my mind. And now I have a great excuse. It's just like, no, I'll never shake another dude's hand. Like, and I'm good at handshakes. I like handshakes. I get why they matter. Right. So it's going to be this interesting. I don't know if I'm going to be forced to go back to it because everyone else does or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of these pandemic measures have been like, at least for me, a positive step in our society. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like one thing that I thought about recently has been masks. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like wearing a mask has been great for me because I don't have to worry about my facial expression being the wrong one for the circumstance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm much more comfortable in social situations because I have a mask on, right? It's sort of weird.
See, and I originally was applauding, like same thing. I was like, I'm so excited to have my face covered. Then I forgot, oh yeah, I can't fucking hit on women anymore. I can't do it.
Why not?
Because my face, like, so you can't joke. Like, so I remember trying a couple times with like people, and it's just like, if people can't see, because most of my humor is dark humor, right? It's going to be something kind of fucked up. You need to see me smirk or smile to know I'm not a psycho, right? So it's just like, I'm going to kill you, right?
True,
just like,
yeah.
And they don't see the nuance. It's like, what the fuck is this guy's problem, right?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Because the thing with masks, I think I read this somewhere. It's like people are actually perceiving other people as more attractive.
I heard that.
With the masks on?
Not for me.
Really?
No, because it's for me, I always, if I've described this before, but like if people aren't smiling at me, I assume they're mad at me. Like everyone in the world, this is why it's hard to go out. Everyone looks angry at me all the time, right? Like that's my perspective of anybody. So until I see someone smile. So now with masks, I just assume everyone's angry at me. Because I literally never see people smile now.
Yeah.
So I had an experience, oh my God. It was basically as good as sex, like genuinely, which was at Superstore. I had this kind of like flirty interaction the whole time with these two girls. Like we kept meeting in the store and it was like this running joke that we kept running into each other.
Yeah.
They ended up being parked right beside me. By the way, this is totally a missed opportunity. Absolutely should have got a number. But when she realized I had just got into my car because they came to my grocery line. This is why I knew I should have asked them for their number.
Yeah.
At the very least. But when I got out to my car, I was just sitting there for a second putting my music on. Sure enough, they pull up right, like they're putting their groceries right beside me. And then the girl just like in the passenger seat, like looked over and smiled and like couldn't believe it was me. The feeling of seeing her smile was like, holy shit, did you just show me your tits? Like this is the same reaction because we haven't seen smiles for so long. It's like that Arab country thing about why ankles become super attractive, right?
True.
It's just what you can see. I didn't realize how much I missed seeing women smile.
But you can see, like, when a person smiles, you do see wrinkles around their eyes, right? So you could conceivably hook that into the same brain pattern that the smile.
And I
gets
do,
you,
right? Like I can pretty accurately interpret that this is a positive interaction or a negative interaction.
Yeah.
But there's just something about a smile that just communicates
Yeah.
so much. I didn't realize how much I rely on my own smile to communicate with strangers.
Yeah.
It's basically like chopping my hands off, like as far as
Yeah, see, I totally get
I feel
that.
encumbered.
I totally get that. For me, though, I have the opposite problem where, like, a lot of times my facial expression is giving off the wrong impression in a circumstance. Like,
You do always look angry.
yeah, like I'll look angry when I'm really just nervous or something, right?
Right.
And being able to cover that up, it's like it's been like it like in that, for example, if I'm going to a party, we take our masks off. Doesn't work there, but interactions with like people in stores and stuff like that have just been so much better for me now because people don't assume I'm pissed off all the time, right?
See, and I think for me, when I go out, what I'm hoping for is positive interactions, and I'm having significantly less of them because I can't connect with people. So like the grocer, anything, it's like they can't fucking hear you. So I just stop talking to people. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
now when I go out, I'm not getting my extrovert fill of little social interactions because
Right.
I don't think it's even just me. I feel like everyone else is just too frustrated to talk to because it's just like,
There is that, yeah.
you need to be able to hear for a lot of humor and nuance, right? Like you miss that one little bit and suddenly there's no joke, there's no connection, and you're like, what are you talking about?
Like what I envision is like, let's say as a society, we just like, let's just keep doing the mask thing, whatever. Like we would see innovation in sort of masks. You would see masks that don't get sweaty on the inside, that don't fog up your glasses, that allow you to talk and the sound travels effectively. Like all of that stuff would happen and it would just be like really nice.
Okay. Counterpoint to that. Why doesn't that exist already? Because Asia's been doing this for 50 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Asian countries, it's like an as needed basis, right?
No, but I'm saying why hasn't this innovation happened? Like if it was going to happen, why hasn't it happened?
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good counter to what I'm saying. You're saying it's just not possible?
Well, I just think like if there was the technology to do so that was keeping it being an effective mask and what you're talking about, like ideally, right? Like you would have one that like maybe amplifies the sound, like a speaker or something. Right?
Yeah. You could do that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But like, I bet it just comes down to cost. It's probably just too expensive. No one wants to, because they have to be disposable too.
But what I'm talking about is a circumstance where we wear masks outside, like we wear clothes outside, right? Like you're wearing it all the time. To not wear a mask would be like walking around with your dick out, right? That's the circumstance I'm envisioning. In Asia, masks are worn when you feel sick or when it's like a lot of pollution that day or something like that. You're not wearing the mask every single day. I think if that were the case, we would see those kind of
I think a lot of those people wear them every day though.
You think so? Yeah, I don't really know.
Because pollution's just off the charts. Like they have pollution days in China, right? Like imagine just being told you can't go into work today because it's too polluted to walk outside your house.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking crazy to me. Like India has 9 of the top 10 cities. Like I don't know why masks haven't caught on there. Maybe they don't do anything against that kind of pollution. I have no idea.
Probably not, yeah.
Yeah.
You probably need like the N95s or something.
Right. And I bet that's also the issue is you have to they haven't figured out a way that can keep it actually like antimicrobial or whatever, right? That you don't have to wash or you don't have to. You're right. Innovation will probably happen as a result of the whole world fucking doing it now, right? Someone will come up with something maybe. If it's a big enough problem, maybe no one else sees this as big enough problem, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't really know where things are going to go, right? Like the problem, I guess, right now is the access to the vaccines is like disproportionately going to rich countries and poor countries. Like some of these countries, it's like they're not going to get the vaccine until like 2024, right?
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, insane. And so that means that these countries are going to be infected there's going to be mutations, there's going to be variants coming out of these. There's only a matter of time before one of them, what they call it, escapes the vaccine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that happens, we're back to square one, right?
I know it's not a very well thought out plan to be isolationist in a very connected world like
Right.
the states, right? Like having to like they're. I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to end up telling everybody we've wasted a lot of vaccine because so many people aren't getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen, and people will be like, why didn't you ship this elsewhere then? Like, why did you guys fucking hoard it? Like, we could have helped India. We could have helped,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, it has to be uniform across the world to be effective, and we're not doing that. So we're there's I don't know. I'm not an epidemiologist. I can't say for sure, but I feel like we're gonna see this isn't going anywhere because of how we're handling it. So
Anyway, let's get off COVID. No one likes talking about COVID.
True.
It fucking blows. I had another question for you, which was, what's the best compliment you've ever received, either directly or indirectly?
I don't know. I don't usually. I don't know if this is a good habit or not, but I generally, when I get compliments, I don't store them in my memory. Like I kind of brush them off.
Really?
I'm more it's criticisms I usually focus on, right?
Maybe you just haven't had a very good compliment.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, like, do you have an example?
Yeah, I mean, like I was telling someone about one of the funniest backhanded compliments I got recently, which was like, I said something about dating. I was like, yeah, dating's pretty hard for me. The apps don't seem to work, blah, blah, blah. And some girl was like, look at you. Or like, why, like you have to be putting a terrible profile or something like that. So it was like, she basically just straight up shit on like, well, it must be what you're writing. Like you're presenting yourself as a moron or something because you're good looking or whatever. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like I don't get told that. Like I think people think I get told that. Back to your mask thing. Like I don't think people understand how self-conscious I am about my teeth. So that's why I initially reacted to masks in the same way you did. I was super excited. I was like, fuck yeah. I can cover up my mouth now. Right. And, yeah, I don't know what the best compliment or.
Well, I think that's a good point. It's like the best compliments are ones that weren't intended to be a compliment, right? Mm-hmm. Where someone says something offhandedly that you're like, oh, well, that implies that I'm this, and that's a really good thing, right? Mm-hmm. That is the best kind of compliment.
I guess I should have thought of an example when I asked you a question. That is a hard one to come up with on the spot. Like, what is the best?
Yeah, I mean,
because I'm like you, I can instantly go to criticisms or things people said, like, you're fucking trash at listening or whatever, right? But it is really hard to retain the compliments.
It is, yeah. I don't know if that's true for everyone, but I mean, I guess for me, it's like a compliment is like, oh, well, I don't have to work on that then. Whereas a criticism, it's like, that's something I should try to do better. Right. So I'm more focused on the criticisms because I'm trying to
change, improve.
I don't know if that's the best way to do it. Sometimes I've thought like the truly great people in our society are people that are okay with having like serious character flaws, because then they can devote more energy to their strengths. Right.
Right. Or just owning this is something I'm trying to get better at, is owning the fact I'm very flawed and make mistakes in a lot of areas, right? Like that's something I used to really try to protect from other people, but now I've seen it as like, I think it's because of a YouTube channel, Charisma on Command. Have you heard that one?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
So him analyzing like famous people on shows and stuff, the people that you do really find charming and connecting and whatever are exposing their flaws, are vulnerable with their flaws, because it shows that they're not insecure, right? Like it's true confidence is to admit your flaws and shit, right?
Yeah, like the his video on Russell Brand.
Yeah. Perfect
that one?
example.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Like Russell Brand, like that interview where those people are trying to like rile him up.
Right.
I forget where that was. That BBC.
I think it was in America, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right because it had that. Yeah. It was on CNN, and but his calm and the way he just like every part about that. I wish that's how I could react.
I know. Me too.
Right? Like he's so calm. It's just, well, that's a pretty shitty thing to say. I would voice that out loud. He never does that, right? Like he's just like.
But that's the thing. It's like to be that calm in those circumstances, you have to be okay with your flaws. You have to have already gone through that to say, sure, bring out my flaws. It doesn't matter. I'm at peace with them, right? And then it's like you're untouchable.
Yeah.
In those circumstances, right?
Well, and that's exactly it. I'm trying to become emotionally untouchable to strangers. Do you know what I mean? Like that is my ultimate goal because my worry right now in life is that someone can trigger my emotional side, right? My biggest fear is like crying in front of people, right? That's something I can't do even personally. Like, you know what I mean? Just doesn't happen. And so I think if I could somehow be okay with that idea, I would actually be way more something. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to become that weepy guy. Like, oh my God. Are you watching The Circle?
No.
God.
There's a guy.
I wish you would watch more shitty TV. This season, it just has this very stereotypically older gay man that just literally cries at everything. Like, just like, it's the nicest thing anyone's ever said. It's like, okay, is it really? Like, Jesus Christ, dial it back. I really know this is my own, insecurity. Fucked up my mic. Around people expressing emotion. I know I'm not very comfortable with it. Like, people crying, nothing makes me more uncomfortable.
Have you, like, what kind of crying frequency are we talking about here? Like, have you been in situations where you've broke down and cried?
Well, yeah, younger. This is why I'm saying, like, this is where I got my complex PTSD from, is I was a highly emotional kid, right? Yeah. And so I got bullied, I got whatever, right? It was not, like, it was seen as a, like, I kind of equate it to, like, internet culture, right? There's certain people that go on the internet now, you know, I see these TikToks, they're just like, they're responding to a comment and they're just like, that's very mean and blah, 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 right? Yeah. I'm just like, do you not know this is going to get you way more hate? Do you know what I mean? I just wish I knew I just wish someone as a kid told me, like, you shouldn't cry in front of people, or I don't even know if I did. Like, I don't have a good memory at all, but like, I know I was a highly emotional kid.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird, eh? Like, when you're a guy and you cry, like, as an adult, it's like that is a hard thing to come back from, right? I was in a circumstance in university. I was taking a political science course, and it was the politics of Africa, right? Super interesting course. Like, that was one of my favorite courses. Yeah. Africa is super interesting political wise. But one day the professor put on a documentary about the AIDS epidemic in South Africa. So it's just on, and we're just sitting there watching it, and it was so depressing. Like, I was sitting there and it was like, holy crap, any moment now I'm just going to be bawling my eyes out, because they're like things like they would show this child playing with a toy. It's like, yeah, she's going to die, and her brother's going to die too, because he also has it, because her mother had it, and when she had her kids. And it was just like, it was like that over and over again. And I'm like, oh God. And it, like, I had to leave. I had to get up and walk out of class because I was about to explode. Yeah. My eyes were about to explode.
That's a perfect example. I remember, being exposed a lot to that, like, tear-jerking shit that, like, I think it wasn't until the show Intervention that was the first time that I was like, I must have been like 20 or something. Me and my friends it was kind of fucked up because we would get fucked up and then watch Intervention, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
that was our that was our deal.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
Like 5 or 6 of us would just every Saturday we would call it WTF. They'd come over, we get fucked up, and then we watch like hours of Intervention. We're like, God, look at this person's heroin addiction.
That's funny.
Meanwhile, we're all chaining smokes and
Yeah.
fucking. Anyways, that show was the first one that like I think I had to force myself to not get emotional about it because my friends were not emotional, right? Like it was just like they were the first ones that gave me the perspective that you could just watch something and not feel for it, you know?
Yeah.
Like sure, I felt bad for the people, but like you didn't have to take on the emotion, and that's generally what I have to teach myself in life is like this person's problem, not my problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keeping that separation. Some people are very, very good at it. That's where like I lack boundaries. Like physical boundaries, great. Even emotional boundaries, talking. It's like I don't want to talk about this. But yeah, that's one area where
Like the empathy. Yeah.
I had to steel myself to it because it's too much. Like again, like I used to care too much about homeless people, right? Like it's like I just remember one day being like, I was living in Vancouver and I was just like, I can't stand my roommate's attitude towards homeless people. Like someone was just like, just kind of like, yeah, why? I don't know, whatever the normal rhetoric is around. Like, I don't like them ruining the neighborhood or they make it unsafe or whatever shit. But like at the time I was like, okay, I have access to a crock pot. I can make a shit ton of burritos and go hand them out. Right. So I started doing that for 2 or 3 weeks. I was so worn down, like very quickly because it's just too much. People's lives are too terrible. You know, you need to be a different kind of person that's why my roommates kind of had a shitty attitude towards homeless people. They were dealing with homeless people like with methadone clinic and stuff. Yeah. And I think they could separate their work from the people. Whereas I've always thought if I volunteered at a homeless shelter and a guy asked me for $20, it's going to be hard for me not to give him $20. And you're not supposed to, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, my opinion of homeless people is probably more in line with like the right wing, like, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, son, right? Oh my God. Well, well, let me just explain myself.
No, I know. I'm just giving you my initial reaction is, oh my God, where are we going with this? But right. We should get into no, but this is the thing. I want discussion, right? I don't like how the internet is. I don't like that I would just shut you down and be like, fuck you. So yeah, go for it.
All right. So here's so the first of all is there are people on the streets who could work, right? It's possible that and they just don't, right? Those people to me it's annoying because like think about it this way. Like let's say that your place right now required you to walk through your neighbor's bedroom to get into your place. Like how would you feel about that, right? Wouldn't that suck a lot, right? Like it would be really uncomfortable to just leave your place. That's what it's like with when you live downtown with homeless people. It's like you're walking through their living space, right? And it's not fun for anyone to do that, right? So it's like, in that sense, I'm not happy about them being there because it's uncomfortable for me to walk through when someone's got their sleeping bag and all their stuff strewn about on the sidewalk. I'm sure, like, I always imagine homeless people as people who are more comfortable than they should be with these circumstances, right? But I'm sure it's not great for them either.
They're not.
Right?
Yeah, they're not. You're constantly in fear when you're homeless.
Yeah. So people who have the capacity to work and just choose not to, I don't have any empathy for them. I think they need to. Yes, there are people with mental illness or they've had a string of bad luck and they just found themselves in that circumstance. I don't want to put any kind of moral judgment on them. I want us to, as a society, to figure out why that's happening and to figure out a solution for it.
Sure.
Right.
I think I go back to the like how Republicans pick out the one guy on Long Beach that is the guy you're talking about. That's just like, hey man, I get a government check and smoke weed and surf all day, right?
Yeah.
I think that's such an outlier and just used to like like how many homeless people have you ever met that didn't have something up? Like I've literally never met a homeless person that I thought, you can work, you're a normal dude.
Yeah, so I haven't met a lot of homeless people. I've never gotten to the point where I've really gotten to know the people in my neighborhood who are homeless. So you make a very good point. It's like I don't know their circumstance, but it doesn't change the fact that to me, it's like we need a systemic solution to this problem. It's not a case of like being more accepting of that. I think it's inherently going to be problematic. Like I don't want people living on the streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
For my own peace of mind, but at the same time, it's not a great life for them.
No.
Right? So we should, as a society, figure out how to solve that.
Well, I mean, thankfully there are people that are finding solutions. Like that program that they started, I think it was in Portland, but like now Vancouver's adopted it. Like just getting a person a place to stay.
Yeah.
Honest to God, like solves a lot. Like a lot of people do find,
Right.
okay, now that I'm not in fear, now that I have a place to like store my food, you know, when I go to the food bank or whatever, and no one's going to rob me and whatever, it allows them to start to build a life, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't think about is like, especially where we live in a place that the industries have a lot of boom and bust. It's a very cyclical industry, right? So you get these circumstances where the economy goes down, more people become homeless, then the economy improves. The people that became homeless during the downswing, they don't suddenly become unhomeless now, right? They stay in the gutter, right? And so as the cycles play out, you just get more and more people falling through the cracks, right? And it's like getting them a home would be a huge boon to that, right?
Well, because I mean, it does solve your problem as well. You feel like you're walking through their living room, right?
Yeah.
And so, that was always my response to people that felt uncomfortable with homeless people. It's like, well, if it really bothers you, fucking help that guy.
Yeah.
Help him do something. Like, but it's easier for all of us to be like, someone else will help him. System will help him. Right?
It is totally. And I think like you talk about the Republican viewpoint of like holding up the one guy that's just taking advantage of the system. Like that viewpoint is an excuse not to do anything about it, right? They're trying to ignore the problem, right?
Yeah.
And that's not my viewpoint at all. It's like I want us to
find solutions.
I really hate it. I guess because I live downtown and I deal with it every day, all the time. So it's really on my mind. But
which is so interesting because like I lived by the mustard seed in 2 different cities. I've never, like when I moved out when I was younger and I was 17 and I lived literally a house away from the mustard seed.
Oh yeah.
So like our neighborhood was dangerous as shit.
Yeah.
We had a like a guard dog and stuff. And I'm not going to say I wasn't intimidated when I went out, but I think that experience is what just kind of was like, they're not here to fuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you realize most homeless people just want to be left alone. Just the only reason they're even having to interact with people is because they need something. Right.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so if we could solve the needing something, right. I still think it all comes back to like so when the States talks about like why their homeless epidemic has gotten so bad in California, whatever, is because they defunded all their mental health shit years ago and closed down millions of different, psychiatric places where because in society there are people that just have brains that are literally too broken to participate in society, right? Like it's just like your schizophrenia puts everyone else at risk, right?
Right.
And so those kind of people do need to be. This is why I wanted to know more about Europe, because I want to know what their mental health system is like versus their homeless population.
Yeah.
Like, would that be a good case study as to why there's no homeless people there? Because they offer free, psychological whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, are they free of homeless people in the like Germany?
No, this is what I'm saying. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, what is
yeah.
their percentage compared to ours versus what? Like, this is what I'm saying. I wish someone smart would tell me.
Yeah, well, I 100% agree that we need to devote more resources to mental health. Like the fact that we live in a country that has universal healthcare, but it's purely a physical healthcare, not mental healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
is ridiculous, right?
Yeah, like I have some friends that like they're in this weird bubble, like where they can't get more than 6 sessions a year.
Yeah, that's
Like
where
that's
I'm
not
at.
going to be effective therapy. That's not effective. Like, and I like for example, like I've been fortunate that my parents are wealthy enough to support me going and
Yeah.
have been for 3 years or whatever. I don't go anymore, but like that 2 years of intensive therapy probably costs like whatever 20 grand, whatever.
Yeah.
Not many people have access to that, but it's a thing that probably kept me out of jail or killing myself, right? So it's like I am now a valuable person. Maybe not in an economic sense, but like in a, I give people stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't be friends if I didn't give you something, right?
Yeah, totally. You're well adjusted, and yeah, maybe therapy had a lot to do with that. The problem, 100%, is that it takes time. It takes work and effort, and our healthcare system is geared towards, can we prescribe something that's a quick fix,
Mhm.
right? Can you pop a pill, like you know a, a prescription might cost like $100, or in the States it's like even more expensive because they have those problems over
Mhm.
there. But $100 is nothing compared to like the cost for like intensive therapy, right?
Yeah. Well, and it always blows my mind when people break down like military budgets and like what that actually could, like, so if we didn't buy these stupid fucking helicopters for this war that we're never going to be a part of,
Right.
how much mental health sessions does that get our whole population? And how is that not more beneficial than owning some fucking helicopters?
Yeah.
Like, and I get people are like, well, we need to defend ourselves. We can't rely on the States. It's like, look, do you think the States is going to be like stopping their military spending anytime soon? Like, their country is run by the military industrial complex.
Yeah, totally.
There's a reason there was $500 million in a COVID relief bill. Do you know what I mean? For military.
Right.
It's like, how did you slip that shit in? Anyways, mental health really frustrates me because just to see other people not have access that I did kills me.
Yeah.
It's like, I know they could be me now. Yeah. Anyways, I'm too emotional about this. Speaking of too emotional.
Yeah, I went to therapy a few years ago, and I burned, like, I get $2,000 through my benefits, and I burned through that like so quick, and I was not anywhere close to resolving the crisis that I was experiencing at the time. So.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like, I don't think it was till a year in I thought, oh, my life is improving. This is changing the way my brain works, right? Like, and it wasn't just acid that got my brain working well, right? Like that would be an easy way to excuse my hard work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing I'm just like, yeah, exactly. We have universal health care. Can we get people realistic amounts of talking time, even with counselors? Do you know what I mean? Like it's even hard to just get counselors or whatever.
Yeah, even if it's group therapy, right?
Yeah.
Like if like one-on-one is too expensive, right? Even group therapy could work, right?
Totally. Well, and I think that's why apps like BetterHelp and stuff are taking off.
Yeah.
Which I do think have value. Like I originally, I told one of my friends the other day not to do it, but I've actually been rethinking that position because mostly like, and this is why, like, so my therapist tells me every time I come back to do a session with her that I probably shouldn't, because she finds that she's like, for whatever reason, you do more improving on your own now than, like, you don't need the therapy. Like, therapy seems to just add a level of judgment that then crushes you, and then you go back to smoking weed. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, one thing, I'm a little skeptical on these online help systems, because it's like, why are they so much cheaper? Like, you still are face to face with a qualified professional, right?
no, like, so it's well, I don't know which one you're specifically speaking of, but that's what I was gonna say. So the value I see in like the text app, right?
Yeah.
Is so like a person in a moment can be like, I'm really spinning. All it is like a really good friend, right? Like tapping you on the shoulder, being like, okay, you need to get off your phone. You need to go eat. You need to go shower. You need to go work out, or specifically give them a CBT or DBT solution.
Right.
Like, what's making you anxious? Analyze this. Go into the anxiety. Think about why does this make you anxious, right? Like, I get what you're saying. How is it cheaper? And I had the same reservations. I think for one, it's a lower bar. You don't need to be a registered psychologist.
Yeah.
So it's just counselors. But that's why I'm saying I think it is actually a good system, because it does give people access to people that, even if they're not qualified or like, you know, super whatever, their mind is still something you can learn from. Do you know what I mean? Like I could be a better help counselor to some people. Like some friends, when they come, like I'm able to use stuff I learned in therapy to help them out of their situation.
Right.
I feel like that's what BetterHelp is, or whatever, is just a quick, here's what you can do to get out of that situation.
But I mean, that's the problem I have, right? Is like when I was in therapy, it was not a psychologist, it was a social worker, right? And I ended up in a group therapy thing with these people that, I mean, I don't know, like I just didn't feel like they had the intellectual chops to really provide me with the help that I needed, right? Like they couldn't explain these concepts to the level that would make me sort of be okay with them, right? It was kind of like, you should just accept this concept because it's going to make you feel better. And it's like, well, I need justification it needs to have some truth value to it. And it's like, I can't just accept. It's like if I wanted to do that, if it's like, okay, I'm just going to accept ideas that make me feel better. Why don't I just go to a church?
You're right. But here's the thing. The church isn't going to change the way your mind works.
I mean, wouldn't you say that the church did provide that service psychology, right? Like churches have couples counseling, marriage counseling, that sort of thing, right? Like they do, the very idea of like a God and an afterlife puts a lot of people at ease in terms of like existential anxiety and things like that, right? That's why people believe in these things. Yeah, no,
that's the thing. Like I have always seen religion as a pseudo psychology, because it is like you go into your confession booth and talk to your priest, right?
Yeah.
That expelling of honest whatever is the same as therapy, right? Like you're going in and you're expressing shit you don't express to anybody else. I get that. But at the same time, it's not going to, you relieve yourself in that moment, you unburden yourself, whatever, and that has value, but it doesn't train you to notice how your thought patterns and shit. And I get that your psychologist, your social worker didn't have the skills.
Yeah.
But I feel like because I used to take free counseling before I finally asked my parents to help me, because it was kind of the same thing. I was kind of like, yeah, this guy kind of knows, but he can't give me concrete shit to actually change stuff,
right?
And that bothered me, or reasons why I should push through anxiety, or why I should, right? But I feel like more often than not, like some access is better than no access, is what I'm saying, because people won't go on their own online and be like, what are DBT techniques? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's easier to learn. I think for most people, it's easier to learn from other people. That's why we go to school. It's why we.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for me though. I do look up all this stuff. Like the thing I'm dealing with right now is insomnia, right? And it's becoming more and more apparent to me that the solution is going to be some psychological thing, right?
Breakthrough.
Like there isn't really any like good insomnia medications out there that are going to work long term. Right? It's all intended to be short term, and when you look up long term solutions, it's about retraining your approach to sleep and like how you handle waking up in the middle of the night and stuff like that, right? So like I've looked all that up, but it's like, I don't know. I need someone to sort of guide me through that. And
Exactly.
that's what a psychologist would do, right?
it is like an accountability thing, but
Yeah.
it helps you. It does help you keep on track. Like, this is the thing. Like, I think most of us just aren't. I get that there are people like yourself that are disciplined and will look stuff up and will follow through. But I feel like you do need just that outside, like, hey, so how did that last? Because we don't follow our patterns. So like number one thing you do when you do DBT is they give you this massive sheet that just is like a checklist of what you did every day. Like, did you sleep? Did you eat? Did you whatever?
Right.
And the reason they do that is to get you to notice your patterns, right? So it's like, when you stay up to 3 a.m. the next day, you're more likely to want to assault somebody because you are very emotionally unregulated, right?
Yeah.
And so you have a physical representation of what's going on in your life like you never had before. And I feel like a psychologist or a counselor is kind of the same thing. It's kind of like calling you on your shit in the sense of like, well, Jason, did you really try this week to not have caffeine and really put yourself in, like, you have a bath before bed, shit like all these techniques, right? That are supposed to lower your blood or whatever, right? I just think like most people aren't self-accountable, whatever.
Yeah, or self-regulating, right?
Yeah, like I just feel like if you were already built that way, you would have corrected this before.
Yeah.
Or it's just like you just need that little extra push. Like, as you said, like, it's just like you just need for a little while. Like, I used to really have sleep problems like you. I was telling my mom that because she wakes up at night, and I was telling her yesterday actually about this because she was saying that she thinks now she's like, all right, if I'm still awake in 5 to 10 minutes, I'll start reading. I was like, that's a self-defeating thing. Your brain's going to want to wait and read and whatever because you enjoy that and listen to and it reminded me of myself because I used to do that. When I would wake up in the middle of the night, I would assume I just woke up, not because of any bodily function I had to do or anything. I was just like, fuck, now I'm going to stress about work, right?
Right.
But what I found is I'm not allowed to put on a podcast anymore because my brain is too interested. I click that on and suddenly I'm up till 7 a.m. until I go to sleep again, right?
Yeah.
But if you allow yourself to like, I just like called my own bullshit basically on myself, which was podcasts weren't helping me. What I really needed to do is actually punish myself in a way and just lay there and be bored as fuck. And that's actually what gets me back to bed now.
Yeah, see, and like I went to the doctor recently and about my insomnia, and he brought up sleep hygiene, right? And he's like, I know like a lot of people say they have good sleep habits, but then they really don't, right? And it's like, I'm not that person at all. Like, I have my friggin' lights in my place. Like, I spent a lot of money to get those Philips Hue light bulbs that are Wi-Fi enabled, and I set up like a script on a Raspberry Pi to shift the color temperature of the lights as it gets later in the day to replicate sunlight. Like, I go to bed the same time every day. I meditate twice a day. Like, I do all of this like intense sleep hygiene, and it's like this doctor's approaching it like I'm just the average person that
not trying hard enough.
Tries to get away, tries to cheat themselves, right? Because that's what it is, right? It's like you're trying to get away with something from yourself.
Totally, yeah.
Right? And so it's like, I just don't see that approach. I mean, what I'll say though is what you're saying about psychologists does make a lot of sense, and it's making me realize that there is probably more value to someone who's just a counselor and who has been trained in the techniques. Doesn't need to be someone with like a really intimate knowledge of like concepts and stuff like that. So
no, like I honestly don't think it would be that many sessions for you to figure out what the actual it could be you just have naturally chemicals and shit whatever lacking melatonin or whatever. That could for sure be a thing. Or it could be some repressed thing you don't even remember from childhood, right? Like, and I feel like within like 5 with an actual like hardcore psychologists and only talking about this thing, they would come up with some pretty interesting things for you to be thinking about as to where.
Yeah.
That's the difference that I found between counselors and psychology. Counselors were more like your friend just listening to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And psychologists were like my psychologist is just hardcore facts. She's hardcore facts lady because I don't deal in facts.
Right.
Right. And so all it was is basically, you know how like when your closest 5 friends start to be in your head or whatever that theory is, that's why it matters who's near you and whatever. That's all psychology is. You're basically just paying to learn this person's brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've taken a lot of her mannerisms or approaches because her brain works well.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm after as well, right? Is like I want to talk about I want to discuss the concepts on such a level that it gets into my brain, right? And to do that for me it's because I'm a very logical, analytical type person. It's like you need to show me the logic in the idea for my brain to integrate it, right? And I don't know if counselors. It's like that's the thing with the couples therapy, right? We were talking about couples therapy, and I said I was not a fan of the therapist on that show. The reason why
that still makes me laugh. Yeah.
The reason why I felt that way is because that person seemed like they were approaching it as like, I'm your friend listening to your problem there. She wasn't suggesting conflict resolution techniques, things like that, which may help these couples. I mean, maybe it was just part of the editing. Maybe they edited that part out. I don't know. But to me, it's like if someone is just sitting there sort of repeating what I'm telling them in a way that sort of makes me feel validated, I have no use for that, right? I want you to tell me why I'm wrong. I want you to say, no, you should be thinking about it this way, right?
Yeah. Well, and so without knowing how many times you've tried, that's exactly why I dumped 95% of my therapists. I was just like, no, you're not going to tell me what's up.
Yeah.
Like, you're just going to listen to me, and then I'm going to be like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't learn anything from this session. I just told you everything, and you were like, yep.
Yeah, it makes you feel better. It feels cathartic, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't help you.
It's not a solution.
Yeah, totally.
So, this is why I think you should definitely just see, just for your own edification, if there is some kind of repressed thing. Because like for me, I don't remember half my life still, right? Like, I'm hoping EMDR or whatever gives me access to that. But like, I think a lot of people, it's just been so long since something that we thought was probably innocuous at the time, but it just totally shifts how we live. Like for you, it's not being able to sleep, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, when did that start? And so that's some of the approach you could try, by the way. This one psychologist I didn't really connect with, her whole strategy is to think back, when is the last time you remember? When's the last time you remember? So like, you would just keep asking yourself, when's the last time I remember sleeping well?
Oh, yeah.
And you just keep thinking on that thought until you inevitably come up with whatever, right? Because it's that whole thing that if you ask yourself a question, you'll come up with an answer.
Yeah.
Like, you will come up with an answer. This is what I try to tell people. Like, just ask yourself the question. You're going to ruminate on it until you fucking think about it.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll give it a shot. I mean, I do have that $2,000 benefits at my work, so I could do it at no cost to me. So
have you ever tried it, like hypnotherapy or anything?
No. I don't know if hypnosis would work on me. I know there's like poor responders in hypnosis, and I feel like I probably am one of those.
Yeah, and I have the same issue, right? Like, how it was explained to me is it's not like hypnosis, as most people think of it, is like getting people to cluck on stage and blah, 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 right? Yeah. Which is all bullshit. Those people are just performing. They know they're not under any spell, whatever. But the idea behind like people that have, because my psychologist was going to refer me to her friend who does some form of it. Yeah. It basically, she was explaining it's more about putting you in this certain mindset. like that allows you to be more open to ideas than you normally would be. That's
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
the whole, like, not like we're going to make you never smoke again, but like that's where it's been shown actually to be very effective. Hypnotherapy is with smoking. Like, do you remember how hard it was to quit?
Quit smoking? Yeah, it was tough.
Like,
For sure.
I think I was quitting for 3 years,
Yeah.
like at least,
Yeah.
you know. It wasn't until I got on Wellbutrin that I actually
Oh, really?
managed to.
For me, I quit once for like a lot of years, and then I started up again, which is
Really?
absolute garbage. But I did, yeah. So the first time I quit, it was just the patch, but I felt like it's one of those things where it's like certain times in your life you just really want it, and so like at that point I think I was 21, and I was like, I just really want this off of my plate. So I was really motivated. And then like 26, 27, I started again, which was fucking the dumbest thing ever.
What was the do you remember the reason?
I was at that point in my life, there was a lot of things going wrong. Like I had a house that,
Stressors?
yeah, a lot of stressors. I was doing a lot of like intense psychedelic drugs around people who were also smokers. So we would get together, and like I was doing these like psychedelic drugs as a way to like distract myself from like all the problems I was having at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just ended up like, hey, give me a smoke, right? And then it just got back into my habit, right? So I mean that sucked, but I was able to quit that using an e-cigarette. So I switched relatively quickly to an e-cigarette, and then I just reduced the nicotine concentration progressively over a few months till like by the end of it, I was getting like the mildest e-juice that they offered, and then I was getting plain vegetable glycerol, and I would just mix them together. So I would make it even more dilute. And then when I quit that way, it was like nothing. Had no problems
See, I never tried any of that stuff because, for one, I only ever smoked 4 a day. So like my friend gave me this gum that was like 1 milligram or something. It fucked me up.
Yeah.
It was like way too much. I was like, whoa, this is the lowest amount of gum they offer. Like I was like, you know, mine was all mental. I just needed to stop. I never enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I never enjoyed the smell. I hated spending money. You know.
Oh man, I enjoyed it so much.
I hate everything about smoking. It was I only got into it because of the kind of cigarettes that we banned. Like if I had to smoke what I was smoking by the end I was smoking unfiltered players. Like I was like, fuck yeah. You know, like I'm hardcore about this. But like at the start I'm smoking these wussy jarums that have 0.8 milligrams of, you know, tar and shit, and it's mostly just sugar and nicotine, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always liked the low nicotine so I could smoke more, right? So I could smoke more often, right?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. No, I remember. Oh my God, that was the thing. That was the crutch, is friend groups. So like the only reason I don't know if we all ended up quitting, but we had to break apart as a friend group. I saw it for like that whole 3 years. Like we'd have a guy be like, all right, I need to quit. My wife wants me to quit, right? Like two or three of the guys were married. So they were just like, I need to quit. I'm having kids or whatever, right?
Right.
So they'd disappear for a while. Inevitably, they'd miss their friends. They'd come back. They'd try to remain, you know, sober. We'd all do this. Like we'd all rotate in and out of this group for like,
yeah.
And it was eventually we just split off for like 3 months or something. And like 2 or 3 of us just, quit forever kind of thing.
I mean, I've seen that pattern with pretty much any friend group that revolves around doing drugs, right? Like the drug friend groups, it's like they have a time limit on them. I feel like I've always seen that. Like even if it's like a bunch of stoners, like you all get around and smoke weed and watch movies and have a good time. It's like inevitably someone is gonna feel like it's too much, or they'll
get bored with it.
Yeah, they'll get bored with it or something, and then they want to quit, and then suddenly they just can't be around those friends anymore. It's like they have nothing else holding them to that group. So it's like, drug friend groups always have an expiration date, I feel like.
I wonder, see, and that's why I find it interesting that you met these like 40-year-olds that are all drinking together.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I kind of see life as like at around like 25 or 27, people start to be like, maybe I shouldn't be getting fucked up all the time.
Right, right.
And by 30s, we're all kind of like, I'm sober now.
Yeah.
Or pretty sober. Like most people kind of like get okay with themselves or just decide like, I don't want to be doing this all the time
Right.
with most things, right? Like I like even things that are innocuous, like gaming, right? Like or TV. Like I used to literally wake up, watch TV from when I woke up till the end of the day when I was 17. Like that's all I had to do. I was just living in a closet, not a metaphorical closet, a literal closet.
Right.
And I would just watch TV all day long, right? And it's just now I don't gravitate towards doing anything that's going to be that long, like gaming, anything. I used to be hella addicted to gaming like 2 years ago even. And I realized it's because that was always just like drugs, my mind trying to escape me actually having to deal with something or change. You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. It's weird to see people in that age group still doing that. In a way, it's kind of tempting to me to want to be friends with those people because it's like I feel like I'm going back in time, right? It's like, oh, I get to be young again where we would do stupid shit like this, right? But ultimately, I just have too much on the go, right? Like there's too much life shit that I just can't waste that much time doing that stuff. And the thing is, don't get me wrong, I still like to do drugs. I'm still fully into drugs.
Sure.
But what I do now is I do them in a way that doesn't fuck up the next day, right? Like I'm moderating the dosages and the times that I do it so that I can still enjoy it and not destroy my life, right?
Totally. I feel the same way. Like I was doing microdosing even, right? Like I don't feel the need to be doing it all the time now. Like I just it took too much time. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I wasn't microdosing. Let's be fair. Like 1 to 2 grams is probably not microdosing.
Right. It's just dosing.
Yeah. So that took like 7 hours, right? Like it's just kind of I couldn't. Yeah.
I mean, the way I approach drugs now is it's part of my toolkit. So for me, it's like, oh, I need to think through some stuff that LSD really helps me think through. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then I'll do some LSD and I'll just like crunch through that. Or it's like, I really need to do this thing that is kind of boring to me. I'll take a little bit of weed and it'll make it interesting. Right. So that'll help me get through that.
Lucky fuck.
Yeah.
Every time you tell me that, I'm like, you lucky fuck. I can't imagine if weed made me productive. It
does. But the thing is, I am microdosing, right? Like I can't smoke a joint and then go and do taxes. Yeah. Right. Obviously I won't remember what I just wrote on the last something or whatever. Right.
Right.
But if you take so like I have stuff that's 5% THC and I take 2 milligrams of an oil that's 5% THC. That's the dosage that I'm talking about right now. You probably won't even notice the effect from it, right?
I don't know. I'm very sensitive. Like, I made an edible recently. By the way, don't get me started. Oh, actually, I do want to get started on this. Fucking pieces of shit that ask you to do stuff and then don't pay you.
Oh yeah.
I've never had that happen before, but someone was. Anyways, I'll get into this after.
Right. Yeah.
We were talking about weed and productivity.
Yeah. So I was saying that, the drugs to me are like I'm familiar with them enough now, and I've proven that I can be responsible with them. That I can use them when I want to change my perspective in a certain way that will help me get through a certain situation.
That is a great way of putting it. It's just things in your toolkit.
Yeah.
Because it is like, I have shit tons of mushroom stuff still, and I'll know when to use it, right? Like it's like it'll be like I need a re-up today. Like this, I've been feeling whatever recently. Maybe I should explore that. Maybe mushrooms will help, whatever, right?
Yeah, and it's like an addiction always works against that. Like I would love it. Like I'm addicted to caffeine. I would love to not be addicted to caffeine because it would be super useful to be able to do that once in a while and not have like full tolerance, right? Whereas like me, I'm just trying to prevent the withdrawal symptoms every day, right? So I don't have caffeine in my toolkit because I use it compulsively, right? If I didn't, then I could like, oh, today I really need to be productive. Okay, drink a coffee, blast through the day. That would be wonderful, right?
See, and I always wondered if it was always a tool for me because I only ever had one cup. Like every morning was always one cup.
Yeah.
Like I was never the guy that drank like 9 a day.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, are you having one cup every day?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know.
You still think that's probably a chemical dependency?
Depends, right? On what it's like for you if you don't have a cup in a day, right?
Coffee, it doesn't matter how long I've been off it though. I think this is the ADD thing. It's always put me and my brother to sleep. So like we could have a coffee at 11 and, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people say that, which is weird.
So this is why I'm saying like I think it was more psychological. It hyped me up in the morning than a reality because I've had coffee after supper and it doesn't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think coffee was more a placebo effect for me, which is why I started just doing decaf, right? Because I was like, I don't like having the days when I have a headache after, right? Or whatever from stopping.